found myself in a very sticky situation. Thankfully, I have a book right here that talks all about whatever the heck is going on here. Bartholomew and the Oobleck by Dr. Seuss. Let's read it, shall we? Bartholomew and the Oobleck by Dr. Seuss. And as you can see, I'm wearing gloves as to protect the library book. They still talk about it in the Kingdom of Did, as the year the king got angry at the sky. And they still talk about the page boy, Bartholomew Cubbins. If it hadn't been for Bartholomew Cubbins, that king and that sky would have wrecked that little kingdom. Bartholomew had seen the king get angry many, many times before. But that year, when His Majesty started growling at the sky, Bartholomew Cubbins didn't know what to make of it. Yet all year long, the old king did it. All year long, he stared up into the sky in his kingdom, muttering and sputtering through his royal whiskers. Rumph, the things that come down from my sky. All spring, when the rain came down, he growled at that. And all summer, when the sunshine came down, he growled at that. All autumn, when the fog came down, he growled at that. And then that winter, when the snow came down, he started shouting, "This snow, this fog, this sunshine, this rain, bah! These four things that come down from my sky." "But King Derwin," Bartholomew tried to calm him, "you've always had these four things come down." "That's just the trouble," bellowed the king. "Every year, the same four things. I'm mighty tired of those old things. I want something new to come down." "Something new come down?" Bartholomew gasped. "That's impossible, your majesty. You just can't have it." "Boy, don't you tell me what I can or cannot have. Remember, Bartholomew, I am the king." "I know, sire," said Bartholomew. "You rule the land, and you rule all the people, but even kings can't rule the sky." "Can't, eh?" And the king flew into a terrible rage. "Well, maybe other kings can't do it, but maybe I'm the king who can. You mark my words, Bartholomew Cubbins. I will have something new come down." But how to get something new to come down? That was rather hard to think up, and for many days the old king stomped around, trying to figure out some way to do it. And then finally, late one night, when all the lords and the ladies of the palace were fast asleep, just as the king was buttoning his royal nightshirt, he suddenly stopped still. A strange wild light began to shine in his old gray eyes. "Why, of course," he started laughing. "They can do it for me. Bartholomew Cubbins, blow my secret whistle. Quick, call my royal magicians." "Your royal magicians, your majesty," Bartholomew shouted. "Oh no, your majesty, don't call them." "Hold your tongue, Bartholomew Cubbins. You do as I command you. Blow my secret whistle." "Yes, sire," Bartholomew bowed. "But your majesty, I still think that you may be very sorry." He took the king's secret whistle from its secret hook. He blew a long, low blast down the back of the king's secret stairway. For a moment, he heard some of them coming, up from the musty hole beneath the dungeon, up the empty midnight tunnel to the royal bedchamber tower, came the magicians on their padded, shuffling feet. And up, right into the room, they came chanting, "Shuffle, duffle, muzzle, muff, fista, wista, mistacuff. We are men of groans and howls, mystic men who eat boiled owls. Tell us what you wish, O king. Our magic can do anything." "I wish," spoke the king, "to have something fall from my sky that no other kingdom has had before." "What can you do? What will you make?" For a moment, they stood thinking, blinking their creaky eyes. Then they spoke a word, one word. "Oobleck." "Oobleck?" asked the king. "What will it look like?" "It won't look like rain. It won't look like snow. It won't look like fog. That's all we know. We can't just tell you any more. We have never made Oobleck before." And they bowed. They started towards the door. "We go now to our secret cave. on Mystic Mountain, Nicotave. There all night long will work for you, and you'll have the Oobleck when you're through. They'll do something crazy, whispered Bartholomew. Call them back, your majesty. Stop them. Stop them? Not for a ton of diamonds, chuckled the king. Why, I'll be the mightiest man who ever lived. Just think, tomorrow I'll have Oobleck. It took Bartholomew a long time to get the excited king to sleep at night, but there was no sleep for Bartholomew, the page boy. All night long he stood at the king's window, staring out at the mystic mountain, Nicotave. Somewhere up there, Bartholomew knew that the magicians were working their terrible magic. All night long, the magicians did. All night long, they walked in circles round their magic fire, making magic mumbling with their clucking tongues. Oh, snow, oh, rain are not enough. Oh, we must make some brand new stuff. So feed the fire with wet mouse hair. Burn an onion. Burn a chair. Burn a whisker from your chin. Burn a long sour lizard skin. Burn yellow twigs and burn red rust. Burn a stocking full of dust. Make the screen magic smoke green, thick, and hot. It smells dreadful, does it not? That means the smoke is now just right. So quick, before the day gets light. Go, magic smoke. Go high, rise into the kingdom sky. Make the Oobleck tumble down on every street and every town. Make the wondrous Oobleck fall. Bring down Oobleck on us all. Dawn was just breaking, and Bartholomew was still sitting, trembling, watching the bedchamber window. But now, as the sun rose, Bartholomew smiled. Those silly magicians hadn't done a thing. Then suddenly, Bartholomew Cubbins stopped smiling. Was he seeing things? No. No, there was something strange up in the sky. At first, it seemed like greenish clouds, just a wispy, greenish smoke. But now it was coming lower, closer, down towards the fields and the farms and the houses of the sleeping little kingdom. It was swirling around the utmost turrets of the palace. Little green specks were shimmering in the air right over his head. Queer little greenish blobs, just about the size of grape seeds. He stretched out his hand and started to catch one. Then he pulled his hand back. There was something frightening about those blobs. Bartholomew slammed the window shut. Wake up, your majesty, he shouted. Your Oobleck is falling. The king sprang from his royal bedsheets. By my royal whiskers it is, he cried. Oh, that beautiful Oobleck, and it's all mine, all mine. I don't like the look of those blobs, sire, said Bartholomew. They're coming down now as big as greenish peanuts. The bigger the better, laughed the king. Oh, what a day. I'm going to make it a holiday. I want every man, woman, and child in my kingdom to go out in my glorious Oobleck. Out in that stuff? Asked Bartholomew. Do you really think it's safe, sire? Stop asking foolish questions, snapped the king. Boy, you run to my royal bell tower. Wake my royal bell ringer. Tell him to ring the royal holiday bell. For a moment, Bartholomew Cubbins didn't move. Run! Barked the king, and Bartholomew ran. Oh boy. Across the sleeping palace, Bartholomew ran. Then up the ladder of the great high bell tower. He climbed to the bell ringer's little cubbyhole in the belfry. Ring your bell, he called. His Majesty, the king, proclaims today a holiday. The old man crawled out of his cot. He grabbed the bell rope. What's the holiday for, Bartholomew? You'll find out soon enough, said Bartholomew. The bell ringer yanked the rope. Nothing happened. He yanked it harder. Still, nothing happened. What's wrong with my bell? He muttered. I'd better take a look outside. He poked through the little trap door. Merciful gracious, he gulped. What is that? All over my bell like greenish molasses. Not only your bell, Bartholomew cried. Look at that poor robin down there. She's stuck to her nest. She can't move a wing. The Oobleck's gooey. It's gummy. It's like glue. Oh, the bell ringer wrung his head. If that green stuff sticks to robins, it'll stick to people too. Someone's gotta warn the people, cried Bartholomew. Gotta wake 'em and warn them to stay inside their houses. I'll tell the royal trumpeter, he shouted. He turned and slid like lightning down the royal bell tower. To the trumpeter's tower raced Bartholomew Cubbins, and up on the steps, 4 stairs at a time. As he ran, he could hear the plop of the oobleck down on the window panes. It was pelting against the palace as big as greenish cupcakes now. He yanked the covers off the snoring trumpeter. He shoved the cold trumpet right into his sleepy hands. Get up! Warn the people! Blow the alarm! Alarm? Yawned the trumpeter. Then his eyes saw the oobleck. Those green things, Bartholomew, where'd they come from? The king, panted Bartholomew. His royal magicians made them. The royal trumpeter leapt from his bed. That king of ours ought to be ashamed. He jabbed the trumpet out the window. I'll blow, he shouted, the loud alarm that's ever been heard in the kingdom of Did. But all the trumpeter blew was a glug. My horn, he gulped. One of those green things flew in. He tried to blow it out. He couldn't blow it out. He tried to shake it out. He couldn't shake it out. I'll get it somehow, he yelled. I'll pull it out. No, shouted Bartholomew. Don't you touch it. The trumpeter's hand was already in it. His fingers grabbed hold of a lump of oobleck. He could feel it squiggle around his fist like a slippery potato dumpling made of rubber. Ugh. He pulled with all its might. The oobleck began to stretch. Then glong! The oobleck snapped right back into the trumpet. He yanked his arm back right to its elbow. I can't wiggle a finger. Oh, Bartholomew, what will I do? I don't know. I hate to leave you stuck to your horn, but if you can't warn the people of the kingdom, I've got to find someone who can. Out of the room and down the stairs raced Bartholomew Cubbins. Down to the chamber of the captain of the guards. The captain was humming in the mirror, combing the ends of his handsome mustache. Captain, do something, shouted Bartholomew. Do something? Why? Smiled the captain. What's wrong? Captain, haven't you seen the dreadful oobleck? It's coming down as big as greenish baseballs. Oh, that stuff, laughed the captain. What's so dreadful about that, lad? You know, I think it's rather pretty. Captain, pleaded Bartholomew, it's dangerous. Nonsense, snorted the captain. Lad, are you trying to frighten me? Captains, my boys, are afraid of nothing. That stuff is harmless, and I'll show you. I'll eat some. Eat some, gasped Bartholomew. Oh, no. But before Bartholomew could stop him, the captain was leaning out the window, scooping off the oobleck on the end of his sword. Don't, Captain, don't! But the captain did. By the time Bartholomew dragged him back inside his room, his mouth was glued tight shut with the oobleck. He tried to speak, but no words came out. All the noble captain of the guards could do was blow sticky, greenish bubbles. Forgive me for leaving you, Captain, said Bartholomew, but a captain full of bubbles is no help at all. Bartholomew stretched the poor man out and left them there on the chamber floor. Bartholomew went tearing through the zigzag palace hallways. I'll get the king's horse. I'll ride through the country. I'll warn the people of the kingdom myself. He pushed the door out that led towards the royal stables. But Bartholomew stopped. He could go no further. The awful oobleck was plumbing down as big as greenish footballs now. Too late to warn the people of the kingdom. There were farmers in their fields getting stuck to their hoes and plows. Goats were getting stuck to geese. Geese were getting stuck to cows. Outside the palace, it was piling up. Great greenish tons of oobleck, deeper and deeper on every roof in the land. There was nothing Bartholomew Cubbins could do out there. Shaking his head sadly, he stepped inside. But inside, a moment later, was just as bad as out. With an angry roar, the oobleck suddenly was hitting the palace harder. It battered and splattered against the walls as big as greenish buckets of gooey asparagus soup. It was like a sinking sailboat, the whole place springing leaks. The oobleck was ripping the windows right off of their hinges. It was dripping down the ceilings, rolling down the chimneys, coming in everywhere, even through the keyholes. From every bedroom in the palace, howls of lords and ladies, frightened in their nightgowns, were jumping from their doors. Go back to your beds! Get under your covers! Bartholomew went crying through the halls, but nobody paid the slightest bit of attention. Everyone in the palace was rushing madly about. The royal cook down in the royal kitchen. Bartholomew found him trapped there, stuck to 3 stew pots, a teacup, and a cat. The royal laundress was rushed outside to save her laundry. Bartholomew saw her, stuck tight to the clothesline between woolen stockings and the king's best Sunday blouse. He saw the royal fiddlers. They were stuck to their royal fiddles. Everywhere Bartholomew ran, someone was stuck to something. They were stuck by the dozens. Every last friend he had in the world was flopping and floundering, all helplessly caught in the goo. Then suddenly, among the hubbub, Bartholomew gasped, "The king! Where was the king? He had forgotten all about him." It was in the throne room that Bartholomew found him. There sat old King Derwin, proud and mighty ruler of the kingdom of Did, trembling, shaking, as helpless as a baby. His royal crown was stuck to his royal head. The seat of his royal pants was stuck to his royal throne. Oobleck was dripping from his royal eyebrows. It was oozing out of his royal ears. "Fetch my magicians, Bartholomew," he commanded. "Make them say some magic words. Make them stop the oobleck falling." Bartholomew shrugged his shoulders. "I can't fetch them, your majesty. The cave on the mountain of Nikatave is buried deep in Oobleck." "Then I must think of some magic words," groaned the king. "Oh, what were those words my magicians say? Shuffle, duffle, muzzle, muff? That's all I can remember, and they don't do any good. The oobleck keeps falling harder." Bartholomew Cubbins could hold his tongue no longer. "And it's gonna keep falling," he shouted, "until you and your great palace, marble palace, tumbles down. So don't waste time saying foolish magic words. You ought to be saying some plain, simple words." "Simple words? What do you mean, boy?" "I mean," said Bartholomew, "this is all your fault. Now the least you could do is say the simple words, 'I'm sorry.'" No one had ever talked to the king like that before. "What?" bellowed the king. "Me? Me say I'm sorry? Kings never say I'm sorry, and I am the mightiest king in all the world." Bartholomew looked the king square in the eyes. "You may be a mighty king," he said, "but you're sitting in Oobleck up to your chin, and so is everyone else in the land. And if you won't even say I'm sorry, you're no sort of king at all." Bartholomew Cubbins turned his back, and he started towards the throne room door. But then Bartholomew heard a great, deep sob. The old king was crying. "Come back, Bartholomew Cubbins. You're right. It is all my fault, and I'm sorry. Oh, Bartholomew, I'm awfully, awfully sorry." And then, the moment the king spoke those words, something happened. Maybe there was something magic in those simple words, "I'm sorry." Maybe there was something magic in those simple words, "It's my fault." Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. But they say as soon as the old king spoke them, the sun began to rise, fighting its way through the storm. They say that the falling oobleck grew smaller and smaller and smaller. They say that all of the oobleck that was stuck on the people and on all of the animals of the kingdom of Did simply, quietly melted away. And then, they say, Bartholomew took the old king by the sleeve and led him up to the steeps of the high bell tower. He put the bell rope in his majesty's hand, and the king himself rang the holiday bell. Then the king proclaimed a brand new national holiday in honor of the 4 perfect things that come down from the sky. The king now knew that these 4 old-fashioned things, the rain, the sunshine, the fog, and the snow, were good enough for any king in the world, especially for him, the old King Derwin of Did. The